Hi everyone, blessed be, and I wanted to show you today my Imbolc altar setup. I decided that I wanted to use the larger altar space that I have. This is just on the top of my cupboard. I've had a little one for a while and I fancied a bigger one this time. I tend to do either a larger altar setup or a smaller one depending on mood at the time. And this is still by my armchair, so I still get to sit in my armchair and look at my altar space and enjoy sitting next to my altar space. Now obviously Imbolc it marks the halfway point between winter and spring, so I wanted to bring a bit of greenery into it. Green is also like pale green is a colour associated with Imbolc, and obviously spring is when all the new life and the plants and the animals are going to be fertile and all that sort of thing are happening. I will do a video more about Imbolc on a separate video so I can go a bit more in depth with it. But basically I wanted to bring life to the altar and some greenery, so I always like to include plants on my altar for Imbolc. So I've got my big ficus in the middle. And I have to put it there because if I put it anywhere else, it sulks. They are very temperamental. On the right-hand side is my ficus ginseng, which is a little sort of bonsai ficus. And then on the left, I forget the name of that one. But I like to include those because they remind me of trees. So I like to have those on my altar space to represent nature and the greenery that will come back. And then obviously other things that are associated with Imbolc are like your yellows and purples and oranges and reds, depending on whether you go for the sort of more pastel colours or whether you go more for the sort of fire colours. I tend to prefer the fire colours, but I always do a bit of a mix. This is me just lighting some incense just to cleanse the area. I put the plants on first because either that or they were balancing on a chair and I didn't want to risk knocking the plants over. And this is some white sage incense, which I like to use occasionally when I'm doing a new altar space. Then next I was looking at what else I could add, and obviously this took me a minute or two because it's a case of finding where I've put some things, because obviously I packed everything up last Imbolc, so that's a year ago. And obviously I had all my Yule stuff out, so it was a case of just locating where stuff was. Luckily these hanging things were on another wall, so I just moved them over. So that's my little flower crown that I made, and snowdrops are associated with Imbolc. These are not snowdrops, but they're white the same, so I like to include that. And obviously for me that represents like Selene because of the moon shape in the middle. I've got my moon phases decoration that I made. That's using some hemp cord and some clay, some Sculpey clay, and then painted gold and a little bell at the end. Now I did have these two other little plants I wanted to include. These are my little baby aloe veras, but for some reason my two baby aloe veras are not doing brilliantly. So you'll see in a bit, after I've had them on the altar for a bit, I decided to move them because I'm like, yeah, they're not very sort of lively looking. I don't know why, they're just sulking at the minute. I think it's because there's been a lot of heat in my room because of obviously keeping everything warm through the winter and obviously making sure the snails are at the right temperature. And I think all it is the air's too dry. From what we've researched, the air's been too dry for the aloe veras and there's not been enough moisture in the air for them, so they've had a bit of a sulk. They are recovering. They looked worse than this, so they're getting there, but I just thought, yeah, they don't look very good on the altar space. I would like to include some more flowers on the altar space, but obviously I'm working with what I've got at the moment because obviously current situation, I don't want to keep going to shops or anything, so I'm working with what I have, and this is what I've got around the house. Obviously my good old stag ornament always goes on my altar space. I always keep him there every time, regardless of what season it is, and also my goddess candle as well. I always have both of those on my altar. My stag represents sort of like the more, to me, it represents the more sort of nature and animals and creatures in the forest. And then obviously my candle represents Selene, which is my matron deity. I had to play around with what other candles I wanted to put on. This is my positivity candle, because positivity is something that I need to work a lot on for myself. But I decided it didn't fit with my altar space, but it can go on the lower table that I used for my altar space before, which is just underneath where this is anyway. As you can see, there's, oops, that's when I changed my mind about having the aloe veras on. I've got one in the window which is in decent condition, but I decided no, I wanted more space, and I liked the green of the three plants that I've got on already. Then it was a case of playing around with where everything's going to go, because I do like to have slight symmetry on my altar. Like if I've got one thing in one corner, I like to have something in the opposite corner roughly the same place. So sometimes it's just a case of moving stuff around. I put my 2 bags of runes at the back. The ones on the left are my shop bought ones, the ones on the right are my little bag of ones that I made myself in a previous video, and I use either. I don't use runes as often as I do oracle cards, but runes are something I'm trying to learn at the moment. I do occasional rune pulls where basically I just either take 1 rune and just see what that says for the day or the week, or I take 3 and then do like a reading of 3 runes depending how I'm feeling, but most of the time it's oracle cards. I decided to dig out my Bridget oracle card as well, because obviously Imbolc is associated with the goddess Bridget, and she is a goddess to bring sort of prosperity and abundance into the home. And I will actually make a Bridget cross and a bridie doll. I haven't made them yet, so obviously by the time it's Imbolc, like on Imbolc, I'll make them and then stick them on the altar. So they'll be on the altar at the very latest by the end of the first day of Imbolc. Imbolc tends to be celebrated from like first thing on the 1st of February to like sort of evening of the 2nd of February. So I've got a little bit of time. Now I've actually sourced some materials I can use to make them. I'm going to make them this year. And then with a Bridget's cross, you can leave that on your altar space all throughout the year till the following Imbolc, where you make a new one, and it's to bring prosperity and abundance to your home, fertility if you're looking for that. Me personally, I've finished with having my children and stuff, so I'm not going to do any, and it wouldn't represent fertility or anything for me. For me, it's more abundance, prosperity, and bringing sort of health and a happy home. Is more my thing that I would make a Bridget's cross for. And I included the 2 sunflowers that I got. Now I do use those for other altar setups as well, but I wanted to include them just to brighten up the altar space. Now obviously ideally I'd want sort of like an orangey flower, because I like the more fiery colours, but you do get yellows in fire, so I've included the yellows as well. I've included on the one little wooden thing is my citrine crystals, because citrine is also associated with Imbolc. And then on the other little wooden slice is all of my amethyst crystals. Now I have more amethyst crystals than anything else because it's my birthstone, and it's also my favourite because it's purple. So I've got my amethyst, which is also associated with Imbolc. So there's amethyst and citrine on my altar space. I'm trying to incorporate as many things that are associated with Imbolc as I can, obviously with limitations, because obviously I'm using what I've already got in the house. If I go to get groceries, I tend to only go like once a week, so if I spot anything I can add, I'll probably pick some stuff up, but I'm not going to make a special trip to the shop, because obviously I'm trying to avoid shops at the moment, because obviously I'm a bit higher risk because I've obviously been asthmatic. And that's why also I haven't got the incense stick burning still. I just put it on to cleanse the altar space and then and put it out, because I don't want to have my room full of lots of smoke. What I tend to do is I burn my incense for a little bit just to get the nice smell in my room, and then I tend to blow it out so my chest doesn't get overwhelmed with the smell. Then I managed to dig out my two. I've got a few red candles in like a big arch-shaped candelabra thing upstairs, but I didn't want to use that for the altar because it takes up a lot of room. But I found my two little red candles that I'd got on my shelf in storage. And obviously reds and yellows and oranges are associated with Imbolc because it's a fire festival, and obviously associated with Bridget because she's the goddess of the hearth and the home and metal workers and stuff. And then what I did was light all my candles. If you can see, my charcoal burner's actually got a candle in at the moment. I don't use my charcoal burner very much indoors. It tends to be something I'd use outdoors because when you burn the charcoal, it does produce a lot of smoke, and I'm best having a smoke-free home or very little smoke. So I tend to put a candle in, but I've still got the ashes from previous burns in there. I like to keep the ashes to either make black salt or just to keep them in there as a base to sit a candle on, just to absorb some of the heat so it doesn't get hot on my table. And then obviously I light my goddess candle as well. And I'm going to show you some other things that you can do with candles, because obviously this is a good time of year to work with candles as well. But the main thing I wanted the candles on the altar for here is to represent the fire element, to represent that the warmth is coming back to the earth, the sun's coming back, and just to represent that. I just think it looks full of life when you've got the plants and the candles and everything. So that's my Imbolc setup. Hope you enjoyed my setup video. Thank you for watching. Blessed be, and bye for now.